Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the PantyNectar Podcast, your host, PantyNectar.
Hello, and welcome to another lovely episode of the PantyNectar Podcast. It is your host, PantyNectar, here with Mr. P. We are bringing you another podcast episode today. I have a couple things to talk about, but before we get into the episode, I would like to start this segment with, what are you wearing?
What are you wearing, Miss PantyNectar? I have an inside peek over here, and it's pretty damn good.
So it's so funny. People always say, oh, I love your green eyes, and I have blue eyes. But this outfit will probably make my eyes look a little more green because this is a emerald green, very lacy, little bra top that I have, and strappy little bottoms. Everything I wear is strappy. I feel like I say strappy. People are like, always wearing strappy.
They're just waiting for the strap on, PantyNectar. That's why.
Oh, dun, dun, dun.
You have people out there like she said, strap, just waiting for the
getting excited
on.
Yeah. So I have been working out recently, a lot harder than I typically have. I'm back in the gym. I'm in what I like to call a flow. It feels very good to be in flow. There is nothing that makes me feel better than lifting weights and working out.
It's your oxygen, kind of.
It is. It keeps me, in a good mental health space, all those good endorphins. But I also feel like I feel better when I feel strong.
Right.
Now, I didn't say I am strong or anything like that.
Oh, you're pretty strong. For being 100 and whatever pounds, is like that little body has a lot of power in it, so.
But I just feel like so much stronger when I'm lifting. I feel so much more like my shoulders sit back more, my chest is up more, you know what I mean? Like I just feel...
As I'm sitting here right now, I'm looking at the video in front of me, I'm fucking all crouched over, and so my shoulders are like falling over my knees, and you're sitting here so pretty and
But we've been getting some good runs in. The weather has been good lately.
Starting to warm up. So
yes, if you follow along with my Instagram, then you see all the activity that's been going on. I feel like the more activity in my life, the better everything is. The better. I call it flow because it's like you get the front parking spot at the grocery store and like things just start like lining up and matching up for you without you even. It's all about vibrations, I think, and like what you put out into the universe is what you get in. So.
Well, I think if you're the type of person that's looking for a front parking spot, I don't know. I'm the guy that fucking like when I drive into a parking lot, I go to the back because I don't want to deal with like people fighting over some parking spots that are really just like 30 feet away from where I could park and fucking walk past them as they're arguing and hating their life and shit.
Yeah.
I used to really go for the front parking spots, and I realized that maybe I wasn't the most controlled with my temper at that moment, so
get out of the way.
Yeah, it's best for me not to and now I'm much better now, so but which is probably the reason why I just don't care and I just park in the in the back. But to your point, I have been with you when like we pull in the HEB parking lot, things are going good, and
you're not even looking for it. You're not looking for it,
and you kind of just like pull in, and you're like, "Oh shit, there's a spot right there. I'll go park right up at the front."
Yes, I'm always flow. That like it always like sometimes catches me off guard. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's flow." I think that also has a lot to do with like changing the way that you look at a lot of things.
100%.
There's someone, if you are, especially on the OnlyFans, I try to hype you guys up all day, get everyone motivated and going, and there's always this one person, I won't say their name, but there's always one person that's like, oh, I'm having a shit day. Oh, blah, 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 blah.
The shit day person.
And I finally, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I asked him, I said, well, why? What's going on with you? And he just said something generic, like that everyone, you know what I mean? Everyone goes through.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, babe, you need to start changing your perspective and like maybe start focusing on the good things in your life instead of the bad. Like maybe instead of being like, oh, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, you can be like, well, I have these flowers that are growing outside that look really beautiful, and I'm a healthy human being who gets to unlock my car and go drive wherever I want today. And like,
or that you're alive and you have so much opportunity at your disposal, right? I mean, like for one, if you're even sending a message to you, like your life must be pretty good that you have internet and the fucking phone and computer and shit. There's people around the world that don't have that.
Yeah.
So it is like mostly life is what you make of it.
Absolutely.
In a sense, or like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about. He says that he is 100% convinced that life is exactly as you see it.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn. And he goes into real in depth. You know, he was an immigrant, you know, from the Soviet Union, Belarus specifically.
Oh, yeah.
And his family was literally traded for wheat, right, in the 1970s. And I believe it was maybe early 80s. But nonetheless, so he and his family, they were able to come over from the Soviet Union to the United States, and so he grew up insanely poor,
right?
But realizing that, holy shit, there is so much opportunity around me.
Yeah.
Where I came from, there was nothing. Like his grandparents were persecuted and thrown in prison for being Jewish.
Right.
Right? Like you talk about like religion controlling somebody's life. Or the state looks down and says, so here, you know, life is what you make of it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easy. Like I get into it all the time, like these funks where you're like, oh shit, today fucking sucks, right? And it's like, then you're like, what am I complaining about?
Right.
Like truly, what am I complaining about? That shit didn't go the way that I expected it to?
Right.
Well, maybe that's my expectations.
Yeah.
You know?
Do something about it then.
Yeah, and make a change.
Right?
Do something.
Yeah. What is it, Tony Robbins, that has that quote that you always say, life is not what happens to, what is that quote?
Oh, no, it's
Who is that?
I've heard Grant Cardone say it. I don't know if he's responsible, if he's to be credited for it, but I've heard Grant Cardone say, nothing happens to you, it happens because of you.
Yes.
And when you think that, oh, all this shit's happening to me, you're the victim.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't, when you're a victim, you can't control things because things are happening to you.
Right.
When you realize that most of the things are happening, good or bad, because of you, then you can really make a difference within yourself and have the self-awareness to be like, oh shit,
yeah,
maybe these issues and these problems that I've caused in my past are because of me,
yeah,
and no one else. You know, like with me, I've openly discussed, like drinking and like how now I don't consume alcohol. You know, I'm in my late 30s now, shit, almost 40.
Oh, yeah. Daddy.
It has taken me a long time to realize that, like, man, I had this guy, this old man one time at a bar in North Carolina tell me I had fucking... my face was all busted up from the night before, and I was sitting at the bar, and he's like, son, you don't drink too good. I was like...
Facts.
And I kind of laughed it off, but man, that was 20 years ago. Well, not quite 20 years ago, 15, 17 years ago now. It's like, that stuck with me, and that man was right.
Right.
Like, some of us don't do certain things too good, and having the self-awareness to realize that. And, talking about the boozing and the things that happen because of you, like, for me, it was like, well, I grew up, growing up in Texas, like everything, we talk about it now living here, like it's a drinking culture. It's pretty fucking gross, really. Like,
it's crazy.
When like everything is about like consuming alcohol and like, how can we get fucked up? And then think about doing something else, like we've said, watch people on the water go up and down the canal, and like every boat, like there's people just boozing it up in there. And it's like, man, when we were living in Florida, and we discussed this, when we were living in Florida, we saw people doing the same type of things, but they were out enjoying the activities, and you might see some people drinking, or somebody might have a beer or something.
But it wasn't the main thing.
But that's not the activity.
Yeah. So
me, like, I grew up in that culture. I grew up here in Texas, and where that was a way, and many people in my family, it's just the way it was.
Right.
And then after that, I go and join the Marine Corps, and for the Marines out there, they know that, like, the history of the Marine Corps is taught to you, and the Marine Corps was founded in Tun Tavern, right?
Yep.
In a tavern. So the folklore around that is like, if you're a Marine, you have to drink because, look, we were founded in a tavern, and it's a part of the fucking culture. And it's to be a man and the rite of passage, you have to be getting fucked up all the time. And then like, it's funny because like, you get fucked up in the military and make stupid decisions. You get NJP'd or captain's mass, whatever it's called, in the Navy and the Army has. And so I made a few mistakes there, and it still did. I didn't learn my lesson. And and back to the it happens because of you. Now I realize looking back, man, like all these fucking issues that I've had, so many of them, most of them, all of them, were really because of me.
Right.
And you know, I was a direct cause, or at least associated with much of that. And but the good thing is, PantyNectar, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Is that one thing I realized there too is that like when you're responsible for something, if you made something happen, you also can control parts of the outcome as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it means you're still in control in some part. For me, it was like, you know, fuck it, I'm not drinking anymore.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that about us, that fact. Like, we're not really drinkers. We don't party.
I used to.
Yeah. Or consume alcohol. And whereas like you grew up in a small town where that was kind of the thing, and you saw people deal with consequences because of that, and you dealt with consequences because of that. You realized that a little bit later, that, hey, maybe this isn't the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Where I learned it was my, dad used alcohol to numb a lot of his issues. And so growing up, I just did not, I was not a fan of that, like, lose control feeling. I don't like not being in control of what's going on. And two, I just saw how it was used as like a numbing agent, or like we can block out our problems if we stay in this haze. And I'm not saying, my dad was an alcoholic, but he drank a lot, and we saw that. And so that's like a big reason why I just don't drink, is because I personally don't think it leads to a lot of good things.
Right.
And a lot of people use it as a cover up to other issues. And I just knew, like, growing up with that I would probably do the same thing if I did do that. I would use it as a cover up, and I didn't want to use that excuse and that, go down that path. So a lot of people I was around growing up partied, and I just really focused on running and working out. And that was like my saving grace. And it really kept me in a place of like, what I realized was like, no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to have your back. No one's going to, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, your life is because of you. And I've just always remembered that, and always stood strong in at least that belief that I have. And I've just never been one to do any of that, really.
Yeah.
Never been one to, and I'm not saying like if you drink, to each your own. And if you handle it better, then that's great. But I just think there's a lot more things to be focused on. And like, I don't drink nearly enough water to be sitting here drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I was going to say the same thing. Like I wish that I could go out, and go have a drink, and it just be, but like I can't.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I can, because I have just go out to like have a drink.
Right.
But like in my mind, I'm like, what's the purpose of this? Why am I going to sit here and drink like, let's just say martinis or beer, or whatever, margaritas, whatever it is, and like, why am I going to sit here if I'm going to drink?
Yeah.
I'm going to get a good fucking buzz.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Make
Like,
it worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not going to sit here and like put this shit in my body that I know is poison to my body just because I want to fit in socially.
Right.
And that's just kind of the way I am. But there's many people out there that, there's so many functions where it's funny now that, like, if I go to a function or something, or a concert, where like before, like when I was at a concert, like, man, it was balls to the wall partying, and like, I'm fucking going, I'm in the zone, taking shots, boozing up, buying people at the bar drinks,
Right.
And it was just like mayhem. And now I go to a concert and I realize that I was that fucking drunk guy.
Right.
I was that guy.
Ooh. Yeah, isn't that?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, just the self-awareness, like to even be able to have. People do not understand how hard self-awareness is. And you can sit here and maybe you're listening and you're like, no, I am self-aware. But it takes a certain kind of internal look at yourself, some ego dropping. It takes a lot to be self-aware of who you truly are as a person,
Yeah. Absolutely. Sorry, I was thinking of your self-awareness thing.
No, so actually...
Oh, PantyNectar, real quick, before that, know what I was thinking? I was thinking about me being that guy at the bar drunk, right?
Yes,
and I was thinking, like, I've thought about this. Like, do you know how many times I've gone out and if I were with a group of friends and like start making this connection with a chick and being like, oh, like, you know, like, want to go home with her, do whatever. And then like halfway through the night, it's like, she's fucking gone, because now all of a sudden I went from that guy. I'm that guy. I'm the fucking drunk ass who like spilling drink is just like all sloppy, you know, and like it happened probably more times than I could care to count. So if you want to increase your chances at the end of the night, going home with a pretty girl or guy, whatever it is, try not to get as drunk.
As drunk.
Yeah. Still go out and enjoy yourself. That's what I want people to know, is that like, I'm not suggesting how you should live your life at all. I just want people to hear my story, because I think that, you know, there's been a lot of things that I think that people can learn about me that may be able to help themselves. Like, for instance, I received a letter in the mail yesterday from my friend who I have not spoken to, and it's 19 years. And it was somebody that I was close to growing up, friends, and, you know, we grew up in the same town. He was a few years older than me, same social circle, great person. Still to this day, I say he is a great person. I know who he is at heart. And when we were younger, you know, after high school, we started making poor decisions. And it was at that time that I was like, holy fuck, like I realized that like I couldn't get myself on a good path.
Right.
So for me, I turned to the military, because I knew that like if I were to correct myself, I was either going to end up in prison or dead.
Yeah.
And so I chose to go to the military, hoping that would kind of straighten me out. And thank goodness it did, a little bit at least.
A little bit.
But my friend, and it was after that time that I went to, but right around that time, 2004, 3-4 time frame, my friend one night made a very poor decision and ended up killing somebody. And so he's sitting in prison today, second degree murder, still to this day. He has, I don't know how many more years left. And, you know, I don't know the detail. I don't care to know that. I know what I read in the paper, and but the fact is that, you know, he made a very poor decision and it cost somebody their life. And that's just incredibly sad for that person, their family, for my friend, their family, even though that he was the person that, you know, did that. And it was at that point that I realized that, holy shit, I could make this dumb decision, you know, and be caught up in a situation that maybe you're just, you know, an accomplice in something. You don't have to be the perpetrator necessarily.
Right.
And so it was after that I went and joined the Marine Corps, and I haven't spoken to him in years. And the other day we were jamming, and fucking Ice Cube, was it Today Was a Good Day or whatever it is, came on, and it just reminded me of hanging out with my friend and just chilling, you know, and then I was like, holy shit, I have not wrote him. I have not done anything. So I went and looked him up, and sure enough, he's still sitting in prison. And I wrote him a letter, you know, telling him that, you know, I'm sorry that I haven't wrote you in the past however many years, and it probably makes me a terrible friend. But, you know, and I just kind of had a heart-to-heart, and I didn't know how he would take it. And I just ended up receiving a letter from him yesterday, and it was great to hear from him.
Yeah. Doesn't it make you emotional, like thinking about just him and like where he's at, and reading the letter that he sent you yesterday? Like he, you know, is in a different place now. And it's just incredible to see as humans, when we have self-awareness, like what that opens up for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you could tell that he had a lot, you know, he wrote me a few pages.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was an emotional roller coaster reading that. But, and I will keep in touch with him, you know, and, but he just, and the good thing is that he wasn't playing victim, which how could you, right? If he did, but he took accountability for his actions. And
well, I think one thing specifically he said was, something along the lines of, I thought I could still do a little bit of evil as long as I was doing a whole lot of good.
Man, I need to go. Yeah.
And, that's just not the way it works sometimes. And I'm very happy to see that his outlook has changed on a lot of things and he's in a better place now. And as humans, I think we're allowed to have that. We're allowed to have that growing space and growing room. And he's...
Yeah, and that's what I want to, and I plan on talking to him a whole lot more and going to see him even. He's up in Lubbock at that La Mesa, whatever. I've never been to a prison in my life, so it'd be a new experience for me as well. But that's what I want to tell him, dude, like we all make mistakes. It's unfortunate that this mistake that you made cost somebody their life. But the system has determined that this is what you owe.
Yep.
And you're paying that debt.
Yep.
It cannot bring back somebody's life. I don't want people to be listening right now like, oh, fuck you, he killed. No, like, I get it. This is no consolation to the family or anything. I'm just talking about how do you move forward?
Right.
What do you do? You made a mistake, and it was a bad fucking mistake.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a kid. He was in his early 20s when that happened. He made a mistake, and he's and that's okay. We all make mistakes, And for him, it's unfortunate, one, that it cost somebody their life,
Right.
And then two, your mistake was made in the public for everybody to see. Whereas so many other people's mistakes are made behind closed doors and they can cover it up and they can still act like they're living this perfect little life. And, whether they push that through social media or whatever it is. And when in reality, their life is in utter freaking turmoil,
Right.
But...
And I think he's a good, I think we tell this story to tell you guys, to help encourage you guys that if you are surrounded by stuff that I have this gut feeling. I've always had it, even since I was, younger and around people that I probably knew I shouldn't have been hanging around. I get this gut feeling of like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So we encourage you, if you are around people that maybe aren't doing the best things and maybe you're getting wrapped up in the wrong things, like I encourage you to step out of that and start making the right decisions, start making good decisions, start being around better people that encourage you to do better things. And
that's what my buddy said in the letter. He was saying that something along the lines of like the friends that we were hanging out with. And he's like, I realize now that like they weren't necessarily my friends and we were just, all going down the wrong path together.
Right.
And it's like, that's the thing. If you're in a wrong situation, cut out the fucking toxicity.
Yes,
whatever
yes,
it is
yes,
in your
yes,
life,
yes.
you got to, whether that's people or substances or whatever the case
your
may be.
family, your job, anything.
Yeah, cut it out and move in a better direction, because if you're surrounded by that, then you become a part of that. And that's what he was saying. I became a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying too. Like
You almost became a part of that.
No, I was. I mean, not the freaking crazy shit or what he
all
did.
of that, yeah.
But in just, your peer group, especially when you're like a young teenager, late teens, and it's easy to, like, now I look back and, like when I was growing up, like I'd hear like, oh, you don't want to hang out with the wrong crowd. That's the wrong crowd. And it's like, you pointed, you're like, that's the wrong crowd. And now looking back, I'm like, man, for a little portion of my life, I was the wrong crowd. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want my fucking kids hanging out with me at that age,
Right.
So, but the good news is that life is a ongoing journey, and you can make the decision to change at this very instant and move in a better direction. And one more thing, PantyNectar, is I always say, like, just try to be better.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a fucking like, oh, you're going for the grand prize tomorrow and you're going to just try to be better.
Yeah. People think that, they see PantyNectar and they see this pretty perfect picture. And like, I've gone through a whole lot. And I think that's one thing that I'm very grateful for is when I was 18 years old and, I really got plugged into by fate.
You got plugged, PantyNectar?
Plugged, no.
Butt plug?
No, but I was going to say, when I was around that age of like going through my parents' divorce and all this stuff that could have led me down a very bad path. I was plugged into Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins and people like that. And I'm very grateful, and it saved my life, because I probably would have had a whole different outlook at that age, like most people do. But by happenstance, I dated this guy that was involved in Herbalife, actually. And Herbalife is big into all of those people, personal development in general. Garen Jones was a part of the company who has a big story about all of that. And I'm just very grateful.
Was he in prison as well?
Garen Jones was in prison, yeah. Was living out of a storage unit that was full of cockroaches at one point, and now he's a millionaire and has changed his life around and has a beautiful family. And he's pretty awesome. His story is pretty awesome, and he puts out a lot of good stuff, more like spiritual type stuff, which I love, because I do think it all is about the spiritual being that you are. But I'm very grateful for that, because like that gave me an outlook of like what you're saying. Life doesn't happen to you. Life happens because of you. So because of that, I became the girl that was always working out and staying active, because it was my escape opposed to partying like everyone else was doing. And that made me different than a lot of people. And a lot of people didn't want to hang out with me because I was so into, no, I want to do this. I want to get better. I want to challenge myself. I want to push and do things like that instead of drinking my problems away and not dealing with them. And I'm just so forever grateful for that, because I really think that it put me on a whole different path had I not been there and that listening to those people.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, it's funny because I would say that my life started to change like internally within myself. I remember it was in July of 2018 when I first went to a Tony Robbins event in Chicago. And I would have not gone if it were not for my cousin who funded the entire thing. And so I am incredibly grateful for him for doing that. But I had watched some of Tony Robbins stuff. He had just put out the I'm Not Your Guru thing on Netflix or what it was called. And I had watched it. My cousin even asked, hey, watch it. And he's like, what'd you think? I'm like, dude, that just doesn't fucking motivate me at all. Like, I'm thinking like I looked at, like, I watched the documentary and I'm like, Tony Robbins, this guy's a fucking tool.
Right.
Yeah, like, I just thought that's just the way I felt about it. But when he was like, well, you want to go to Chicago and go to this event? I was like, he's like, I already got the hotel. It's paid for. I was like, sure. Yeah, I'm on my and this was a Sunday. And he was like, it's Wednesday. I need you there by Wednesday, because the event started Thursday and went through Sunday. And I said, yeah, I'll be there. So I flew up there Wednesday. And man, it was fucking life-changing. It was really, really life-changing. And being in an environment that you're around, and that's what I realized being there. There was 10 or 12,000 people there at the United Center in Chicago, and you're in this building with all these people, realizing that, God damn, I got a lot of shit going on in my life, and I know all these people do too, and that made me realize that everyone does. But what I realized is that the people in that room, they were all trying to better themselves.
Yeah.
They were all trying to move forward in some capacity. Now, the thing is that you had people in that room that were insanely successful people that are still trying to be better. You had people like me that were just kind of fucking there. Like, you know, like I've made it through life, and, you know, I really don't need that. I didn't feel like it at the time. And it was like, holy shit. But I was still trying to figure it out a little bit. And then there were people that, like, you know, fucking people at the lower end that are just like struggling, but they're trying to get better. And through that, I realized that, holy shit, man, life is a journey, right? Like there's no this is the end of it. No, it's a journey, man. It's an ongoing journey. And truly, that day, that weekend, and then a few more events I went to, and that really sparked my interest in like personal development. And I'm not a person you want to listen to about personal. I don't know much about it, but I know what I've listened to and what I've read, and the shit's powerful, man. And there are some very smart people out there with good intentions that you can tap into, that can, if you're willing to, that they can help you out in a sense. And I'm not talking about like going and paying somebody a lot of money to go to their fucking event or anything. No, like, they're on a podcast. Podcasts are free. Yeah. Like, there's so many good podcasts out there. Read a book. Like, get a book. Find somebody, get a book. Books are fucking, go to Half Price Books. Get a book for $5 or $10, you know? it doesn't mean you have to spend money to try to change your life. And I'll tell people, and a part of that, like on Sunday, they brought in this dude, Master Co, Stephen Co or whatever his name is. And he's this Chinese dude. And it's like, it's not, I don't know. It's just like deep fucking breathing exercises and stuff. And like, it was just like this foo-foo shit that I'm this tough guy. I don't need this, like I could do. And like after the fact, I'm like, man, like that's some powerful stuff. And so I really implore people to, no matter where you're at in life, try to seek some sort of self-development.
Yes.
Because it's going to make you better.
Yes. Even if it's like in your car as you're headed, 10 minutes to the gym or something, throw on somebody to listen to. That brings me, I have my book here. I've been reading this book, Badass Habits by Jen Sincero. She's also the author of You Are a Badass. And this is not sponsored. This just happens to be a book that I'm reading currently.
Jen Sincero's like, holy fuck, PantyNectar's mentioning me. Everybody's yeah.
But You Are Badass by Jen Sincero is a great book. I bought this. This has actually been with me like since Florida, and I've never read it. So I finally decided I am going to spend more time reading, trying to do things to better develop me to grow as a person. And this book has been really good. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and I'm only like maybe a quarter of the way, almost halfway done with it. But one thing that it has definitely made me realize is like habits. Like habits are very easy to get into. And she talks about like even bad habits that we have. Like instead of one of the examples she gives is she would wake up first thing and go smoke a cigarette. And like you learn that if you do something else in place of that habit and continue to do that in place of that habit, you build a better habit. So one thing that I've been taking into action is just doing things. So like doing the dishes, as soon as I wash them, we have a drying rack that we use. We don't use our dishwasher. I don't know why. But we have a drying rack, and I just dry the dishes right after I'm done washing them and put them away so that there's no dishes. And what I'm trying to do is, and this is just day 2, but I'm trying to build the habit that will make it easy. The way that she puts it is habits make it more like a forget about it type thing. So when you have this habit, just like waking up and going pee first thing in the morning, that's like your brain's not thinking. You wake up and you go pee because you've done it for however many years now. So if you start waking up and making your bed and then do it the next day, do it the next day, do it the next day, like your brain will click and you won't even have to think about it. You'll roll out of bed and make your bed. You know what I mean? So like I'm just trying to put things in place, put habits in place, hanging up all my clothes. I'm really bad about, she also talks about being aware of the things that you do. So if you are a little lazy or you have just bad habits in general, try to do things that fix those, because those are all a trigger of something else. You know what I mean? And so working on that, I really encourage you guys to listen or read anything. We've talked about a few. Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar's a good one. Eckhart Tolle, we listen to Eckhart Tolle every night when we go to bed. We set the timer for an hour and just go to sleep listening to it. But Eckhart Tolle, what is that book? The Power of Now? Is that?
The one, so he has the power now, but the New Earth is
the New Earth. That's a great book. And just putting things in your ear and in your mind that encourage you to be a better person, because not a lot of us have a support system of people that are going to help us stay on track. So you have to take self-accountability and do those things on your own.
Yeah, and stay curious too. Like, I remember a few weeks ago, I just had this epiphany. I was like, holy shit, because I don't know why we all think not crazy things, but our minds are always ongoing, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, like why do we say like, hey, how have you been? Or, like if you haven't seen somebody in a while, it's, hey, how have you been? And the default, we just all have these, default I'm good, or, even that was just how you been. It's just so cliche to ask. It's the way that we communicate. But we get stuck in those types of almost roles, if you will. Yes. But then I was thinking, to break people out of that default question, default response type thing, I think a good thing to ask somebody would be, what have you learned recently?
Ooh.
Like, hey, John, haven't seen you in a while. What have you learned recently? Oh, man, I've learned this. I've been doing this. Yeah.
like that.
And as a matter of fact, I started working on this project and I couldn't figure that out. So I had to go do this, as opposed to, how have you been? Oh, I've been good. You know,
Yeah,
like
because
it's like,
no one's going to be honest and be like,
yeah,
oh, shit.
or,
blah, blah, blah,
yeah, or
blah,
like,
you know?
how's your day going? Oh, it's good. Or, you know, it's just, so I think if you can dig a little bit deeper and tap into people. And so the thing is like with me, like you always have to be learning. I think that if you're not learning something, what are you doing? You know, like it doesn't, and by learning, that's just anything. It doesn't matter if it's work related, right? If it's your job, your boss has tasked you with something and you're not really sure what it is, well, go figure it out. I guarantee you somewhere there's literature written on it where you can go find a book or a document or a publication somewhere that you could learn more about.
Yes, always learning, because if you're not learning, you're dying.
You're
Is
dying.
how that, like, that's just fact. If you're staying stuck, and that's another great thing. If you feel stuck in your life, go learn something, regardless what it is. Go learn a language. Go learn about.
Oh, I got something you could learn.
Yeah.
Learn about the new wave of artificial intelligence that is now upon us. You know, like for so long we've heard like, oh, wait till AI is here. AI is going to change this. AI this. And it's like, and people would talk about like AI being implemented in things. And it's like, man, AI isn't here yet. Or I would think that. And now Chat GPT, I'm sure so many people have heard about,
Yes.
amongst other AI programs, is like, over the past few months, that stuff has really, really amplified. And it's insane. I have a Chat GPT account, and you can go in and Chat GPT is like this chat bot, right? And like you prompt it with something and it will respond to you. It's not, and so, and then it can also remember the conversation that you were having, and you can go back, and if you have a question about a previous statement, you can maybe say, oh, go back and I had a question about what you mentioned here. How do I do that? And then it can go into detail. And you think that like, oh, well, I have Google. And it's like, yeah, Google's cool, but Google only takes you in a roundabout way and to a page. It's a search result, and you still have to go sift through whatever it is. Whereas ChatGPT can spit it right back out to you, and more importantly, like it knows so much about so many different things. And if you know, I'm sure anybody listening right now who's in technology, they know this. I don't have to tell them, but if you're in any type of technology, ChatGPT can help you out immensely. It can even write code. Like
It can do just about everything.
And so when you prompt, it can take your words and turn it into code. For instance, you can say, ChatGPT, I want to make a game on my website using HTML and CSS or JavaScript, whatever it is, JavaScript, and to make a snake game or make this type of game or whatever it is, just a simple thing, like a game where like fucking an ant crawls over this and squishes it and whatever. And right now we're at ChatGPT 4, and even from 3.5 to 4, it's been an insane improvement.
It's crazy.
Whereas like the code that it makes is perfect, but still like there's still things lacking within ChatGPT where you can't, like just something like uploading pictures. You can't upload pictures and have it do something, but you could take something like the ASCII flow. You can go to that website and like create a document, like a it's just a 2D thing, and it's like graph paper. And you can make like square, like make a big square and then write something inside the square and write something on the other side. And you can copy and paste that to ChatGPT and say, hey, do you recognize what this is? I want you to make a web page that resembles this. And it will fucking write the code for it. I mean, that's insane. So
use these things to your advantage. You know, there's so many things out there now that can be used.
Yeah, and it's important that this technology is now literally compounding almost daily. And even the people that are like the gurus in this stuff, and even the people that are coming up with this stuff, we were listening to Lex Friedman the other day, and he was talking about Chat GPT and how it's a large language model. There's different types of AIs, and I don't know anything about AI. I just know what I see and hear and read. But even Lex was saying, he's like, yeah, and the thing is like, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the human-like ability that this Chat GPT, how it responds and answers and can connect the dots in a different ways, we're not really sure how it does this.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like oh shit.
That's
so you're telling me
crazy.
like we're developing something that's so intelligent that now we're kind of at that stage that like we really don't know how all of it functions, right? Like within the computer right now that we're looking at, there's somebody who can tell you how every little piece and component and why that is happening. But with the AI that's coming about, there's some things that, yeah, it's working great, but we're not too sure
That's
why.
crazy. So, again, we encourage you guys to get busy, get growing, get learning, listening to people that help encourage you to grow, to be a better person, whatever it is. I would also love to hear what you guys are learning about. And I would also, I'm going to mention, I am going to start reading some things on the podcast. So if you have some advice that you would like from Mr. P and I, or you have a problem that you think that we could give you a little help with, I would love to hear what's going on. You can write me at PantyNectar9@gmail.com. Email me and, I'll read your question on the podcast and we'll answer it and go from there. But I'd love to reach more people and help more people. So I'm going to start doing that to see if we can get some things going.
People are always curious what you have to say, PantyNectar.
I'm going to leave you guys with this little quote in the book, and then that is going to be it until next time. This quote says,
Read to us, PantyNectar, like it's fucking story time. You're sexy ass.
It says, living an awesome life is all about making choices that make your heart sing. And in order to do this, you must become aware of the choices you've already made. Trying to change your life without being self-aware is like using a map to try to get somewhere you've never been before. If you don't know where you're starting from, you ain't gonna get very far.
That's it, PantyNectar. And guess what? If you don't find somewhere in that self-awareness that you're kind of fucked up, you're not self-aware.
Till next time.
We'll see ya.